Chapter 24. Power, Starkiller. The planet of Christophsis is one of the most fought-over planets in this war between the Republic, backed by the Jedi, and the Separatists, backed by the Sith. It's a very odd situation since many have believed that the almighty Jedi Order would be able to handle two enemies easily, but their weakness has been proved more times than I care to count. I myself have already disposed of a Jedi Master and his Padawan on Alderaan, and the pure satisfaction received from their demies is more than I could have ever dreamed it to be. When Lord Sidious assigned me to the task of taking back the planet from the Republic, I accepted eagerly, for there will most certainly be a Jedi around to try and save the citizens from falling under the rule of the Separatists. Recalling my orders from Lord Sidious, I position all of the droids at my disposal in the key locations, where the offending clones will be stationed to try and retake this planet. My orders are to eliminate any and all who oppose the Separatist rule, and to take no prisoners unless it is the Jedi who holds important information about how to bring the Republic to its knees. These orders leave a lot of work to be done for any normal person, but I am the all-powerful force wielder of the dark side who serves the Sith, and I can do as I please. That being the case, I have a strategic battle plan which will not only lead to the clones' defeat, but to the Jedi's defeat also. Sir, the clones are advancing through Sector 7R. Our spies report that General Kenobi is leading them. My command droid informs me. An evil grin breaks out across my face. General Kenobi, you say? I ask rhetorically, my grin getting wider. I will lead our droids to apprehend him. Make sure that all other sectors are gridlocked so that they will not be able to escape. Not that they could escape me anyway. I finished my sentence darkly in my head. Surrounding myself in dark force energy, I walk down the steps of the outpost that the droids have chosen a few hours prior to the battle, and clasp my hands behind my back. In these situations it is always amusing to see my enemies try to attack me, and then to see them realize that I am untouchable. At a calm pace, I continue to walk towards the spot where Kenobi and his forces are trying to break through my defenses to claim the planet that the Republic has deemed as its own. There is nothing I enjoy more than crushing the hopes of insignificant little Jedi who believe that the light side will grant them ultimate power, when the dark side is where all true potential lies. Even the light itself was created to oppose the dark. Line up, you grease buckers, the general's moving us out. My commander shouts to the other droids in that oh so annoying voice those droids share. I ignore every last pathetic reply that the droids can come up with in their confusion, since only 5 minutes ago were they told that we would be waiting for the enemy, and walk straight forwards with an expressionless face. This is a tactic that I tried on Alderaan, and I found it to be the most effective strategy for my droid battalion. Walking right towards the enemy with no weapons and a straight face confuses them, as it is the nature of most beings in the galaxy to only attack those who appear threatening or hateful. Fortunately for me, I can mask each and every one of my emotions with the Force and give off fake ones for confusing the Jedi. The Jedi on Alderaan were very shocked when I first appeared alongside the droid army surrounded with black smoke that has become my signature move. At first they believed it to be some separatist trick, but when I displayed all of my superior force powers that will one day bring entire worlds to their knees, they soon realized that I was all-powerful. Their lightsabers did nothing to the smoke when they tried to cut through it, and the face of the Padawan right before I choked him to death was delicious. Lord Sidious always said that my first time killing Jedi would be the most satisfying, and now I see that he was right. Any dead Jedi is a good Jedi. In a select battle formation of my own design, the droids line up and follow me at a faster pace than any normal unit, since my own are all either super battle droids or pilot droids with enough skill to keep any Jedi busy for a fair few minutes. I specifically requested them from Lord Sidious and Count Dooku, for the purpose of winning each and every battle I am faced with without having to place too much strain on my own powers until I have mastered each and every one of them. Power, as Lord Sidious so rightly pointed out, is the foundation of all things. Everything craves it, and ultimate power has been the goal of the Sith ever since their creation. Now, however, I am closer to gaining ultimate power than any Sith has been before, and my peers are very pleased with me because of it. I soon find myself entering Sector 7R, and can already see the masses of white armored clone troopers and their cannons set up around the perimeter. It's quite a sight to behold when there is a small portion of an army that tries to stop someone who could secure all of their deaths with the wave of a hand. You really have to admire the stupidity of some people. Have the Jedi Order not figured it out yet? After my demonstration on Alderaan, I am invincible. Nothing and no one in this galaxy can stop me, and I will make sure that any who dare to question that will be eradicated in the most painful and gruesome way I can discover. In the distance I can see the face of the red-headed Jedi Master known as Obi-Wan Kenobi, watching me with extreme amounts of caution and curiosity. At last, a Jedi who is actually curious about me and does not simply want to see to it that I am destroyed. I might just have a good conversation with this Obi-Wan Kenobi, and use the Force to invade his mind. It's always good to have some extra information lying around, and the old saying goes, know your enemy. Speaking of old sayings, I find that most of them are simple statements of fact, because of things that happen to people more often than not. I prefer to go by the old Sith teachings and to ignore everything that others say since they are all fools. Starkiller. General Kenobi takes a few steps forward with his lightsaber ignited. A futile attempt at looking intimidating if you ask me. I don't suppose you've come here to surrender. I smirk at him with half a snarl twisting my features. There is no one who fights for an honorable cause that would surrender to the likes of you, Jedi scum. He narrows his eyes, and I know that the phrase does not go down well with any sort of Jedi. Your cause is far from honorable. You come from a place which does not bother with this galaxy, and you are abusing your powers to make others suffer. I narrow my own eyes and snarl darkly. How do you know about where I come from? The Jedi ignores my question and holds up his lightsaber in a threatening position. Surrender. Now. My fury and anger that is a constant presence around me rushes forwards, and with a loud explosion of force energy, I send the Jedi in front of me and all of the clones backwards enough to give me some breathing room. I could smell the sickly scent of good on the Jedi's essence, and it is more nauseating than anything else in existence. The light side has this sickly tinge to it where it makes you feel these unwanted and unneeded emotions that are just downright pathetic and useless. Anything that is not hate, anger or fear is stupid and pointless, unless it is satisfaction or peace of mind for me. I turn my head slightly towards my droid battalion and shout, attack. Before summoning more of my force powers and using my ingenious black smoke to blind and choke 10 clones at a time. I don't want the Jedi to be killed just yet because it is always so amusing to watch them choke in front of my armies and be humiliated upon their death when I release them and then choke them once more. The Jedi before him lasted 5 times before his lungs finally gave out. Then again, he was only a Padawan, and a Jedi Master would surely be able to last much longer, if not put up a great fight to try and postpone their deaths. The droids open fire on the clones, whether they are knocked down or manning the cannons, and it is not long before the battle quickly becomes a slaughter with the offending clone battalion being decimated before my very eyes. A hysterical laugh rips out from my throat, and I conjure up even more black smoke to prolong the pain and torture of these biological disasters. They are all the same in body, and just replicas or copies of the bounty hunter Jango Fett, and none will ever be able to match up to the skill of that particular rogue. The Jedi are so pathetic. They don't trust the sons and daughters of criminals, and yet they'll use exact copies of the man who helped start the clone war to fight in it. When the clones and Jedi recover, the half that remain alive, the true fight begins, though it is not at all anything like a true fight. There are those who say that the fights of the clone war are the worst to be. And since the days of the old Republic, and I have yet to see this point proved true. It must be hard for all of these mortals to remain alive when they fight against each other, like the filthy animals they are. They entertain themselves with watching 2 animals fight one another for sport, and bet on them when to me they are the animals. In fact, I make a pledge to myself now to teach them all a lesson about their hypocritical ways. The living force is the aspect of the force that resides in all living things, and I respect every part of the force. I would not be doing my job as a force wielder if I did not show the mortals the errors they have come across. Calmly, I flick my wrists in quick succession to send individual beams of smoke towards the cannons, and to disable them in a great ball of fire, to burn any and all beings that dare to mount them. I will not tolerate such powerless beings trying to use these weapons to defeat me. I am immortal, and there is nothing that the galaxy can throw at me that will bring me to my defeat. Defeat. What could possibly defeat me? The Jedi and the Republic seem to believe that they will come up with a way to stop me, but it is plainly obvious to any and all that they are at their ends. Nothing short of a son of the Force itself will beat me, and such a person does not exist. You think you can beat me? I snarl, sending Sith lighting at the clones who have decided it is a good idea to shoot at me. I am all powerful. Cody, get your men to pull back. General Kenobi shouts to his commander, who is still alive by some miracle. He dodges a blaster bolt from one of my pilot droids and adds, now. Then the Jedi, the stupid Jedi, readies his saber and lunges at me. Ignoring the instinct to use the force to squeeze the life out of him, I ignite my own ruby red lightsaber, and block his attack with more effort than it took to use the force. Being a force wielder, I have the knowledge of how to do impossible things without effort using the force, and yet I am as inexperienced as the next man when it comes to lightsaber to lightsaber combat. It is for this reason that I am allowing this petty duel to transpire. If experience is the best teacher, then this should do me some good. Besides, I am immortal. This Jedi cannot harm me or kill me, so there is nothing for me to have to consider when dueling with him, other than making sure that his saber does not damage my perfect body. Our blades clash gracefully, and it is the Jedi's poor display of energy that makes me decide to go easy on the older man. Perhaps a side effect of my unique black smoke is to zap the energy of others, leaving them virtually more powerless than they already were. That is a question that I will have to test out later on. I have gone up against training droids faster than this Jedi Master and Lord Sidious himself can, though more than twice the speed when his fury reaches peaking level. This has only happened on one occasion when I dared to question his authority, and he used Sith lightning to try and force me into submission after the mission on Alderaan. It rebounded off of my dark side infused body, and he ended up being tortured by me. Truly, that was the day when we began to hate each other like any master and apprentice of the Sith should. I allowed General Kenobi to push me back a few paces before I begin the offensive and push him back instead. It is the traditional fight between a Sith and Jedi, and I am not one to ignore the cultures of the galaxy that I have not known for long. Things like this are strangely intriguing to me. I have a thirst for knowledge that is very hard to quench, and the only way for me to be kept from constant research of the many things in the galaxy is the missions and tasks assigned to me. I parry most of the attacks Kenobi launches, and return the rest of them with quick flourishes that either surprise him or make him stagger backwards. Our fight takes us into one of the ruined buildings of the town on Christophsis that our battle began at, and I can both see and sense the strain it is taking on Kenobi's body, just to match my elegant strikes with his own. His energy really has disappeared seemingly into thin air. The black smoke has just become a substance that I wish to investigate even more in great detail. There are many citizens on this planet or in the galaxy that I can snatch up and test my weapon on. It will also serve to aid me in my meditation since peace is found for me by watching those who are inferior to me suffer and to catalog the results so that I may enhance the effects. Kenobi, it seems, is as good a fighter as the stories say even in his weakened state. I shall have to send General Grievous his head on a plate as an apology for not allowing him the pleasure of killing his greatest foe. That pathetic droid needs more lessons in the art of dueling, because there are many Jedi who have escaped him, and I put it all down to his distinct lacking of force sensitivity. He's a cyborg and therefore not infused with the same amount of energy as any other being. Many do not know that the general is actually a creature placed in a droid shell to sustain his life that has lived for many years. It's a rather strange way to remember that there are other galaxies out there with beings that are much more advanced than ours, or in his case much more weak. The duel then takes us up a few flights of stairs which I find makes Kenobi even weaker, and before long we reach the top floor of the building. He is effectively trapped now, and I find that the urge to use the Force to just end it all rather quickly for the miserable Jedi in front of me, but I have to prove my saber skills both to myself and to Lord Sidious. In an obvious last attempt of giving himself some breathing Kenobi slams his saber into mine, and I stagger backwards a few steps which gives him even more time to use the Force to shove me far away from him. As he rushes through a hatch leading directly to the roof, I plaster a dark glare upon my face. He used the Force on me, the Force wielder. This cannot go unpunished. My lightsaber, that remained in my grip whilst I was thrown, is clenched tightly in my hand, and I charge up the remaining steps to the roof to put an end to the disaster that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. He just doesn't understand the meaning of leaving those who are superior alone. I am the immortal Force wielder of the dark side, and I will kill any and all who dare oppose my authority. How can the Jedi just think that they can defeat me? I am immortal, and after my display on Alderaan where many were massacred and I was attacking on my own, whereas now I have a battalion of droids with me, I would have thought they learned something. This is yet another thing that Lord Sidious was right about. The Jedi are as stubborn as they are weak. When I reach the roof I spot Kenobi stood in a fighting stance, and his breathing has evened out somewhat. Useless Jedi calming techniques. I send a blast of Force energy at him to stun the Jedi and lunge for him with my lightsaber at the ready. By some miracle, the Jedi Master recovers just in time to parry my attack and return it with one of his own. My anger and hatred spark together to create the biggest ball of fury inside of me that I use in my very next strike, nearly knocking the lightsaber out of Kenobi's hands. Does the Force want this Jedi to win? There is no way that he could have recovered from such a Force blast without being handed some aid by the Force itself. The duel then picks up a faster pace, and becomes the simple range of moves that I always envisioned it to be. Strike, 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 duck, parry, strike, dodge, poke. I'm not sure why that last move was taught to me, but it certainly catches General Kenobi off guard, and when he stumbles backwards, I take the chance to disarm him and use the Force to send him sprawling to the floor. With my saber firmly pointed towards him, the stupid, pathetic Jedi looks up at me with a defiant glare. I cannot believe how infuriating this Jedi is. He has made my resentment towards these petty, low-level Force users rise from a medium dislike to a full-blown hatred of their entire species. Jedi. Force users. They're the worst Force users in the universe. Their code restricts any and all paths to further power, and I can already fully understand how the Sith came to be. They were more intelligent than any other Force-using species, and took the time to discover paths to true power. You lose, Jedi. I say in my now natural dark voice. Now, you will die. I raise the saber over my head and prepare to bring it down, when a huge disturbance in the Force makes me stop and keel over, staggering back a few steps. My head is pounding and the Force itself seems to convulse around a very specific area of the galaxy. It's nowhere near here on Christophsis but more at the inner rim. Focusing as best I can, I discover that the force is now centered around 2 planets. Coruscant and Naboo. The force is centered around these 2 planets and not around me. Why? What has happened on both planets that makes my very existence meaningless to the force itself when I am an all-powerful force wielder? I am the all-powerful force wielder. What sickens me more than this is the fact that the disturbance in the force was caused purely by the light side. This is impossible. It is common knowledge that the dark is more powerful than the light. Though some oppose this, and such amounts of power are not supposed to emit from it. Such amounts of power are not allowed to come from the light, and I realize quickly that my mission has just changed. Completely. Finding and killing Jedi is nothing compared to the need to find and contain this power. It's almost as powerful as mine. Then, I realize with a start that this power is more powerful than I am. This is not allowed, this cannot be. Kenobi has obviously sensed this too as he clutches his head for a few moments. Seeing that I am distracted, he uses the force to summon his lightsaber to him, and launches himself off of the roof into the ground below. My roar of outrage does nothing to the Jedi Master as he flees from me and to the safety of his ship. I curse in my seething temper and make a silent vow to myself and pledge to the force that it will be kept. This force sensitive's power distracted me so that I lost the chance to kill the infamous Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it is more powerful than me. I will not allow it to roam around the galaxy, much less to fall into the hands of the Jedi. This will not come to pass.